So this
So
is
another layer of resistance there culturally, where it was frowned upon for a man to cook.
Yeah.
But you always had a passion for it. You were like, I'm going to do this regardless.
Yeah.
You
So
come
I
to the
would
States.
and
Somehow
then
end up cleaning restaurants just because you needed money.
Yeah.
And
then started dishwashing.
Then our paths kind of become similar, where I started the same way, just like washing dishes.
Yeah.
And cleaning restaurants. It was like my first job, and then you know, bussing tables, and then one day someone was like, "Hey, can you cut this for me?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And me too. I was passionate about food, and I had there was an older woman in my family, my mom's aunt, who taught me like how to fry an egg when I was like 11 years old, and that was it. I was like, "Oh, we're going." She taught me how to cook bacon. I was like, "We're done," and then from there, the progression goes pretty quickly, right? Especially if you're a hard worker, you have a little bit of passion.
When your boss sees you, your boss.
And if you're not an asshole, even if you are an asshole, we've seen plenty of those. But, so from like 2011 to 2015, you worked a number of places. You worked under some chefs, some actual chefs. You learned a bunch of stuff. You came here as a sous chef, and pretty quickly took over. Like in less than a year, you became the head chef.
Exactly.
And have been in this position ever since.
And people ask me, which college did you go to?
Right.
I'm like, I did not go to no college. My college is working from the...
Say, I went to the motherfucking real school. That's where.
and people don't understand that it's very good for a chef to know from dishwashing, prepping, then cooking.
For any industry that you're in, you should know how to work you should know your company from the ground up. It's very hard. We are talking about leadership first of all. When you're a business owner, or you're a head chef, or you're the head of anything, you need to know what's happening. And I've heard it said, this was about like a CEO. They were saying, it was on another podcast, they were talking about what a CEO's real job is. And they were saying a real CEO needs to know what's happening in the lowest gears in the company. If you think the whole thing like a big machine, and it's just layers and layers of gears, and like there's big ones at the top that everybody sees, and they're like, ooh, look at those big gears. But there's a bunch of small ones at the bottom. It said the CEO needs to know what's happening even to those gears at the bottom. Like, is there a little squeak there? Do we need to lube that? Is there like what has to happen? So I think that's really important, and it definitely helped me along the way, knowing what was going on in every one of those positions. What does it take? Because if you haven't been down scrubbing the floors or sticking your hand in a grease trap,
you will not know.
You're not really armed
to
manage that person necessarily. There's a few people maybe that have pulled off, but I think you're much more effective that way. So
because if you look at it, because I started it exactly from there, from cleaning. From cleaning the floor, mopping, cleaning the dishes and pots and stuff like that, cleaning the sink and stuff like that. And then I grew up, I continue to washing dishes. After washing dishes at night, you go and clean up and mop the floor. From there, you started prepping.
Right.
So from dishwashing, from that day, now they took me off the portership.
Right.
Because the chef there understands that, this boy, it looks like he has passion. Because when they are busy and I'm doing the dishes, they need some stuff like picking kales and stuff, cutting and stuff like that. They will tell me, or cleaning shrimp. They will tell me, you know what, can you do this? Then before they know, I'll do it quickly and give it to them. Then the chef said, wow. I said, I think you have some potential. So then he moved me from being night porter from dishwasher to a prep. So I will do dishwashing from 8 to 4, and then I'll do prepping from 4 to 4 to maybe 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, then I go home. That's how it changed. I started prepping. From prepping, then they started teaching me. They would throw me on the line, and then I started writing, and they would teach me temperatures and to know the temperatures and the labeling of names. So before, in the beginning, I used to have problems with the names.
Right.
They will tell me, oh, this is a Caesar dressing, or this is that, or that stuff like that. So I'll be like, what is that? So, but then as I'm doing it, I get used to it, and I know a lot of things. I become familiar with so many things, and that's why it's very important before you cook, you know how to prep, because prepping made me to know all those things before I started cooking. So I started cooking, but then when I came here, I have to give thanks to you guys for trusting me from that someone who did not go to a culinary school, who doesn't know what is cooking. I started cooking all over here, and then you guys trust me to be an assistant chef to the chef who was here, and then after then you still trust me to make me the chef again of the restaurant. I have to thank you guys very, very much.
Mutual.
Because
and that's a really good segue. I usually do a quote of the day, and when we broadcast from here or do a pop-up, I tend to mix things up a little bit and I don't start with it, and I didn't want to today because I wanted to get to this point, and it happened organically, really wonderfully. But so I want to share the quote of the day now, which is from a business personality that I quote often, Simon Sinek. You'll have to get familiar with him. You should follow him on LinkedIn. He says some really great stuff, and I quote him often. And the quote that he just posted it today to his Instagram account, it's, give people a reason to come to work, not just a place to come to work. And you just kind of nailed it. It comes down to trust. And I hear a lot of major business personalities talking about that today, where me growing up in the States and getting to know the business community, as a young person, I started early, like 16, 17, I was running a restaurant already. I was already a manager at 17. So I've been at it for a while, and this was like the early 90s, and there were still, a lot of people that were practicing things from the 70s and the 80s, and trust was not a big part of it. People didn't trust you. That, like, everybody was suspicious. Suspicious of your employees, suspicious of vendors, just suspicious of everybody.
Exactly.
But giving somebody, and I did receive this to an extent, which is the reason I was able to share it. At some point, somebody did trust me and just said, you're a hard worker, you're a good person. You might not do things the way that I would do them, but I think you'll represent my company and my brand well. I'm going to allow you some space, some creative space. And for you, like, we knew early on we could trust you. We knew there were some things, you still needed to learn. We all do. Like, that's continuous. But you embraced that. It was obvious too that you embraced ongoing education. You were willing to learn whatever, like, no matter what challenge I put in front of you, you've always been like, it's smiling, I got this, don't worry. Or if I come in and I'm like, fuck, things are bad right now, you're like, oh, no, it's gonna be fine, we're gonna just do this. Like, I hope you're right. I hope you're right. But you've proven yourself with that, and I think it's really important for everybody to hear that message, that it's not just about providing a job, like, oh yeah, here's some money. I often talk about this on the show, and some of the other things you've seen me do in relationship to customers, where so we have our menu, we have our food, our item listed, and the price. That's the exchange. You would think that's enough. It stops right there. This dish is worth this price because you're giving me the dish and I'm giving you the money. But really, if you really want to capture people's attention and you want to maintain a relationship, there's this idea of added value, where you as the provider have to take it one step further. And you've done this in a number of ways without even asking. You just create relationships with customers. You come out of the kitchen, little kids
and that's come
up to him. They're like, come back just to see him. They drag their parents to the restaurant. This is not like a kid restaurant so much, but you've created that for customers.
Exactly.
But the same has to be said, I think, of employees, where here's the job description, here's your pay, clean and dry, that's it. But as employers, it behooves you to go one step further,
exactly.
Especially for people that are showing the drive, the ambition, that have earned the trust, to give them that space where they can act in a creative way, where they feel like it's good. Like, it feels to me like you've always felt like this position was good for your soul,
exactly.
Not just obviously, like, you get paid decent, you get to be creative, but I feel like at the end of the day you have a deeper connection to, obviously to me and my wife and Jane and Elliot and the family and everything, but but just to the place and the task and the brand. Like you're willing to like go so far for it. Yeah. And I did that a lot too growing up and coming up under certain people.
You know, exactly. Just to add on what you said, you know, because I realized that this environment is like we work like a community, and that's how Gambia we also work too, like a community. When one has something, everybody comes out something. So. And I realized that all these kids that are coming are within the community, and the restaurant is within the community.
Right.
So therefore, it's better you make that connection with the community and have a family. Like, because we don't have, you guys are my family here. Right. I don't have a family here.
I told everybody, you're my twin brother. Yeah, so we're born in different mothers.
Yeah, you know, this is exactly, that's why. And again, giving me the confidence, giving me the trust, is because you went through it, you understand. It's going to be different from someone who has never went through, like someone they've never given that trust and so on. They will not understand it, but you understand it already. Like you got someone trusted you to say, you know what, you got it. So the same way you also you emulated the same thing and said, you know what, you got this. I got your back and I will be behind you, pushing you. And that's what you did. And you know, it gave me more confidence. Sometimes I do go certain level, I'll be like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Sure, we all do.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh my God, what
have I gotten myself into?
Yeah, what am I going to do? But then you will come up with an idea, and then I just say, okay, let's do it. And
but I think it's really your resilience and where you come from, like coming through such opposition, but having embedded in your psyche, through your culture, that hardships are going to come no matter what. As long as you're still breathing, you have to put on your strong face, your smiling face. Because the complaining, like one thing Ish does not do, he does not complain. And the restaurant industry is full of complainers. And there's plenty of opportunities to complain. There's plenty of things that happen that make you just want to be like, really? Like, what the fuck, you know? This guy just never does it. He just never ever complains, and that's always been really impressive to me. And a good example for me, because I definitely was a complainer for a while. And it showed me, like, that doesn't get you anywhere, like, no matter what. Like, it still is, I can always just, like, say it. I still never, like, had to grow up the way that he grew up. So they're starting their construction outside again. It's going to get loud, and it's that time anyways. We pulled an hour. We did really good. We hit it right on the money, and I feel like you got to tell your story. I want to give you the last 30 seconds. Anything you want to share with people that you think would help them, you know, just a piece of advice, no matter what, whether they want to be a chef, whether they want to open a restaurant, whether they wanted to sell shoes or create a digital marketing something, whatever. Give them a piece of advice, a little takeaway.
If I'm going to say, it's just like, keep your head straight. Always, you know, have your target and have your goals, and you say, you know what, no matter who pushes you down, you're just gonna go for it. Because, like I said, imagine I was a telecoms engineer in planning and development, and now I became a chef.
Right.
People were telling me, I even had some people telling me, why are you going to cook? Why are you going to cook? I said, listen, I have passion for it. If I can do it, I will do it. I mean, if something that's what makes me happy, I will do it. And you know, it makes me happy, and I can feed my family out of it. I can have my life there. I'm okay. Basically, it's all like that. Even if you're gonna engineer here, what is it for? To feed your family and, you know, get a good life. And this is giving you that. Why would you? And it's making you happy.
Right.
So what is the problem with it? So just focus. No matter how they pull you down, just keep straight. Because, like I said, you know, for me, these things the hardship I see here sometimes, I feel like it's nothing to compare back home. Yeah, definitely. So just work hard and go. Yeah, you have schools everywhere. For us, you have schools in different places, very far. It's not like very close, like where you have to walk or you have to pay transport and be traveling all far away to get schools, you know. Like, you know, so in here, if you have all those things, that's why sometimes I see some people, they will complain, oh man, I couldn't buy this. I'm like, okay. You are thinking about buying a device or something like that. For us, we are thinking about not even getting vegetables to eat. You're telling me about some stuff. So this is what. So that's why my advice is just focus and keep going. Keep going. One day the hard work will pay. So hard work pays, man.
That's it. That's it. Awesome. I can't think of a better message to start your year, 2020. 2020 vision, all right? Take the vision, take this advice, stop complaining. If you're complaining, just forget about that and get to work. There's so many opportunities and great things that can be done. It might not turn out the way you thought, but probably the way you expected it. So, awesome, man. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much.
All right,
thank you guys.
We'll be back at the station this coming Friday. Got a special guest from all the way from Staten Island, my boy Tom Ferry. Thank you all for listening. We'll check in with you next week. You're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. Have an awesome start to your year. Peace.